Have you ever heard a dream so big, so impossible, that people laughed at the mere mention of it? This is the story of Anna Harris, a kind-hearted waitress with an unbreakable spirit. She had long harbored a secret ambition to open a cozy cafe of her own, the kind that welcomes weary souls and turns strangers into friends. Yet when a wealthy restaurant mogul scoffed at her dream, reducing her passion to a punchline, Anna refused to crumble. Little did he know, his dismissive laughter was about to spark a chain reaction that would leave him reeling, and Anna standing triumphant. Anna Harris had never been a stranger to hard work. She was raised in a modest home in Dayton, Ohio, where her mother, Belinda Harris, worked double shifts in a nursing home while her father, Ronald Harris, drove a delivery truck all across the Midwest. From a young age, Anna watched her parents struggle to pay the bills, keep groceries on the table, and still find a way to laugh at the little joys life offered. Growing up, Anna's evenings were often spent helping her mother in the tiny kitchen of their apartment, where the scent of cinnamon rolls braided itself into her happiest memories. Belinda, despite her exhaustion, would hum gentle tunes and encourage Anna to try her hand at mixing ingredients. Through these patient lessons, Anna nurtured a fascination with cooking and baking, dreaming, even as a child, of a place she could one day call her own, a cafe where community thrived. The scent of fresh bread wafted through the air, and every patron felt seen and cherished. When Anna turned 19, she found a job waiting tables at a small bistro just off Main Street in Dayton. It wasn't glamorous, but it was an environment where she could stay close to her passion for good food and warm hospitality. That same year, her father's health took a turn, and with medical bills stacking up, Anna did what she could to support her parents financially. She poured every tip into her family's well-being, putting her own ambitions on hold. But Anna never stopped dreaming. She kept a scrapbook of cafe designs she admired, collected recipes passed down from her grandmother, and wrote down every idea that flitted through her mind. The perfect layout for a dining room, the type of coffee beans she wanted to serve, the ideal pastry lineup. Even her meager day-off budget went toward tasting espressos and cakes in every corner cafe she could find. Seeking inspiration, those visits kept her spark alive. Years went by, and Anna hopped from one waitressing job to another. As she refined her skills, she saw her parents' health stabilize. Encouraged, she began to save in earnest, a little here, a little there, fully aware that even her best efforts might not be enough to launch a business. But Anna believed in miracles. She clung to the idea that if she worked hard and stayed ready, an opportunity would come. At 26, she applied for an opening at a swanky restaurant in the city center called Cartwright's Fine Dining, owned by millionaire entrepreneur Charles Cartwright. Charles was known across Ohio and beyond for his luxurious restaurant chain. He boasted about sourcing fresh produce from exclusive suppliers, employing top-tier chefs, and catering to well-to-do clientele. Many an article had been written about Charles's business acumen. He was a self-made man, proud of having clawed his way up from nothing, which gave him, he believed, the right to assess other people's capabilities at a glance. Cartwright's Fine Dining, with its glittering chandeliers and immaculate marble floors, was a world away from the small diners Anna was accustomed to. The staff wore pressed uniforms. Each table was set with glistening crystal stemware, and the restaurant only accepted reservations for dinner a week in advance. It was rumored that even some well-known celebrities had dined there on occasion, including Chef Gordon Ramsay, who once praised the restaurant's filet mignon in a local interview. Anna felt as though she had stepped onto an entirely different planet. Anna had never been intimidated by a little pomp, though. She was confident in her skills and her warmth as a server. During the interview, she was bright and enthusiastic, answering Charles Cartwright's questions with a gentle smile. He was aloof, but seemed impressed by her experience and composure. At least, that was her initial impression. She got the job. Her first few weeks were a whirlwind. The clientele was demanding, and the standards for service exacting. She grew more confident with each shift, forging bonds with the other waitstaff and with the chefs hidden away in the bustling kitchen. Anna became known not just for her impeccable service, but also for her empathy. If a customer looked upset, she made gentle conversation to understand what they needed. If a coworker was overburdened with orders, she rushed to help without being asked. One evening, as Anna was polishing silverware after closing time, she ran into Charles Cartwright in the hallway. He was on his phone, speaking in a clipped, direct tone. When he hung up, he sighed as though annoyed. Anna offered him a polite smile, intending to slip away to finish her duties. But Charles spoke first. "You're Anna, right?" he said, folding his arms across his expensive suit. "You've been here about a month now." "Yes, sir." "Anna Harris," she replied. "Is there something you need?" He studied her for a moment, his brow furrowed in what might have been mild curiosity. "You're good with customers. I've heard praise from a few of my regulars." Anna felt a glow of satisfaction. "Thank you, Mr. Cartwright. The first really appreciate that." He nodded stiffly and seemed poised to walk away. But then he added, "And what brings you to work here? You have some bigger plans? Management track, perhaps?" This was the question Anna had long dreaded. Did she confess her dream, risk sounding naive in the face of such a man, or keep her ambitions hidden, as she'd done in previous jobs? Something about his challenging stare made her decide to speak with courage. "I want to open my own cafe someday." He blinked, and a corner of his lips twitched upward in a condescending half-smile. "A cafe?" "Yes, sir. A small place, cozy and warm. A spot for the community, where people can come for a simple bite or coffee and feel at home." Her eyes gleamed with earnestness. Charles's gaze flickered down her uniform, lingering on her worn shoes. A patronizing chuckle escaped him. "I see. Well, that's quaint." His laugh echoed in the corridor, cold and almost mocking. "You do realize how many little cafes fail every year, don't you?" Anna fought the lump in her throat, holding her head high. "Yes, I'm aware of the risks, but I still believe in my vision." He shook his head. "People dream of a place like that all the time. The market is cutthroat. Customers prefer big chains, more convenient, brand recognition, predictable. If you ever get that far, you'll realize quickly that a passion project doesn't pay the bills." With that, he pivoted and strode away, leaving Anna to marinate in a mixture of hurt and anger. In the weeks that followed, Anna poured her energy into her work, determined to silence his laughter with her success. She studied the intricacies of Cartwright's operation, how the chefs sourced ingredients, how managers handled scheduling, how the interior design influenced customer perception. While every shift was demanding, Anna found learning opportunities everywhere. A pivotal moment came when Anna met a regular customer, Dr. Valerie Kim, a respected local physician. Dr. Kim dined at Cartwright's fine dining at least once a week and was known for her philanthropic efforts throughout Ohio. Dr. Kim and Anna struck up a conversation one evening about community health events. Soon, that conversation drifted to Anna's dream of opening a cafe. Instead of belittling Anna, Dr. Kim's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's a wonderful goal," she said. "Dayton could use more local spots that aren't part of a chain, and your warmth would make such a place shine." She paused, reading the hesitancy in Anna's eyes. "What's holding you back?" Anna sighed. "Funding, mostly. Even a small cafe needs a lease, kitchen equipment, staff, insurance, and so much more. I've saved, but it's nowhere near enough. And honestly," she lowered her voice, remembering Charles's sneer, "some people think it's foolish." Dr. Kim reached across the table and gave Anna's hand a gentle squeeze. "Don't let cynics crush your dream. You never know how close you might be to a breakthrough." The doctor then handed Anna a business card. "Call me if you ever need advice or help networking with local investors. I believe in local entrepreneurs." Anna was grateful, but unsure how to proceed. Over the next few months, she maintained her usual schedule at Cartwright's, but also quietly researched commercial spaces and small business loans. She discovered that her credit was decent, though not enough to secure the large sum needed. Dr. Kim introduced her to a financial advisor, Mark Jefferson, who said her plan was promising but required more capital for an initial down payment. The smallest possible location in a trendy part of downtown was more expensive than she'd ever imagined. Meanwhile, Charles Cartwright continued to make offhand remarks about Anna's little dream, occasionally within earshot of customers or staff. "Still planning that cafe, are we?" He'd snicker when she came to him with a request for new table linens. "Hope you don't bankrupt yourself for a pipe dream." Each time, Anna clenched her jaw and tried to remain calm, but the taunting ate at her morale. One fateful night, Anna overheard a conversation she was never meant to hear. The restaurant was closing, and she was tidying the lounge area when she heard Charles talking on the phone with an agitated tone. "I don't care if the Sullivan property is overpriced," Charles hissed into the phone. "It's the cornerstone for expanding Cartwright's fine dining. We take that block, we control the entire district, restaurants, cafes, everything." He paused, then snapped, "No, I'm not worried about competition. Anyone else who tries to break in will get crushed. This is my town." Anna froze behind the tall potted palm, her heart hammering in her chest. She wondered if the cafes he referenced might include her future dream. Was he actively working to block potential new businesses from thriving? She kept this discovery to herself, unsure of what she could do. Dr. Kim's encouraging words still rang in her ears, but the practical truth was plain. If Charles cornered the prime locations, Anna's best chance would be to rent a cramped, less desirable space, and even that wasn't guaranteed. But fate, or perhaps a nudge from the universe, would soon deliver an unthinkable twist. One day, a man named Robert Salinas arrived at Cartwright's fine dining. Robert was an attorney working on behalf of a longtime associate of the Cartwright family, Joe Bentley, a silent partner in the Cartwright business, who had fallen gravely ill. It turned out Mr. Bentley was no ordinary partner. His stake in the company was substantial. If he passed, his shares would be distributed to whoever he named in his final legal arrangement. Joe Bentley was a family friend to the Cartwrights from decades back, but in recent years, he had grown disillusioned with Charles's ruthless expansions. Joe had always believed that restaurants should be about passion, community, and the love of good food, not just profit. Feeling regretful that he had helped Charles's chain become so large and predatory, Joe had begun exploring other avenues for his investments. He had also taken to visiting Cartwright's establishments in disguise, wanting to observe the staff and see if anyone still carried that sense of genuine hospitality. Unbeknownst to Charles, Joe Bentley had dined in the restaurant several times over the past year and struck up covert conversations with various servers. One had stood out above the rest, a warm-hearted waitress named Anna Harris. Over the months, Joe quietly gauged her motivations, her kindness, her dreams. He learned of her aspiration to create a welcoming cafe. And, in a surprising turn of events, Joe decided Anna better represented the spirit of the restaurant business he once loved than Charles ever would. If Joe passed on, he wanted to ensure that someone with real heart could take a slice of the industry and do something meaningful. Robert Salinas, acting as Joe Bentley's attorney, pulled Anna aside one afternoon after she had finished her lunch shift. She listened in awe as he explained the situation. Joe Bentley was in his last days, battling a terminal illness. His attorneys were ensuring that his estate would be handled in a way that fulfilled his final wishes. His plan: to gift Anna a sizable sum of money enough to launch her dream cafe on one condition. She would buy a portion of Cartwright's shares that Mr. Bentley had the legal right to designate. Anna nearly dropped the tray of water glasses she was holding. "I don't understand," she stammered. "He hardly knows me." Robert smiled sympathetically. "He's been watching your work ethic and your kindness. He believes you can change the face of hospitality in Dayton. And if you agree, you'll not only be able to open your cafe, you'll have part ownership in Cartwright's fine dining. Effectively, you'll have a seat at the table, one that Charles Cartwright can't unilaterally remove. Anna's thoughts whirled. She couldn't believe the magnitude of the offer. Part of her wanted to immediately say yes, but there was also fear. How would Charles react? Did she even have the business acumen to handle partial ownership in such a chain? And what about Joe Bentley's health? It felt overwhelming and almost too good to be true. That same evening, Anna called Dr. Kim, who reassured her that this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Dr. Kim encouraged Anna to consult Mark Jefferson, the financial advisor. Mark was stunned by the news, but agreed to help Anna navigate the complexities. The next few weeks were a flurry of legal documents, hush-hush meetings, and quiet prayer on Anna's part. She still served tables as though nothing had changed, aware that Charles's calculating eyes were always watching. The day Joe Bentley passed away, Anna found herself unexpectedly crushed with sadness. Although she'd never known him well, she sensed a great loss in the world. Here was a man who believed in the soul of good food, not just the bottom line. He had risked trusting her, a near stranger, with an opportunity so grand it defied imagination. Now he wouldn't be around to see it come to fruition. Within days, the news broke. Joe Bentley's shares of Cartwright's fine dining, plus a large sum from his personal estate, would pass to Anna Harris, contingent upon her using the funds to open her own independent cafe and maintain at least a 20% stake in the existing Cartwright's chain. Charles Cartwright was livid. He stormed into the restaurant one morning with his legal team in tow, demanding an explanation, but the will was ironclad. Anna found herself confronted in the very dining room she had been serving just hours earlier. "What is this nonsense?" Charles barked, slamming a stack of documents onto a linen-covered table. "There's no way old Joe left you these shares. You had to have manipulated him." Anna's hands trembled, but she stood firm. "I did nothing but serve him, care for him as a customer, and talk to him kindly. I had no idea he even had a stake in your company." He glared at her with blatant disbelief, but there was nothing he could do. The lawyers confirmed everything. A hush fell among the staff, who watched with wide eyes as Anna, the sweet waitress they admired, somehow emerged with the power to influence the very foundation of the company. Some employees felt hopeful, others uneasy, but one sentiment was universal: shock at how drastically the tables had turned. Anna's immediate focus, however, was on her dream cafe. She selected a charming location downtown with tall windows and a corner spot that let in plenty of sunlight. She named it Harris and Home Cafe, paying homage to her family's name and the welcoming warmth she hoped to bring. Dr. Kim assisted with the health and safety regulations. Mark Jefferson helped secure the final details of the lease. And Anna's parents, now healthy and happily retired, offered emotional support every step of the way. On opening day, word spread quickly, helped in part by a local newspaper reporter who had caught wind of the waitress turned owner story. The cafe's bright interior featured homey accents, shelves filled with cookbooks, small potted plants, and walls adorned with local art. The menu showcased comfort foods reminiscent of Anna's childhood: cinnamon rolls, hearty soups, artisan sandwiches, and carefully curated coffees from a local roaster. The turnout was massive, far beyond what Anna had prepared for. Lines formed outside, with people clamoring to see the little cafe that had the city buzzing. Anna worked the register, with a mixture of gratitude and excitement shining in her eyes. Customers, enthralled by the authenticity of the story, eagerly tried her baked goods and posted rave reviews on social media. Within a month, Harris and Home Cafe was consistently packed, drawing in people from different neighborhoods, all curious to see the place built by a waitress who dared to dream. But Anna's story wasn't over. She still owned a stake in Cartwright's fine dining chain, and Charles Cartwright's hostility toward her only grew. He scoffed at the cafe's popularity, labeling it a flash in the pan. Yet behind closed doors, he saw a steady decline in the same demographic that once frequented his bistros. It wasn't that the wealthy diners abandoned him. It was that everyday folks, those bridging the gap between special occasions and more frequent dining experiences, preferred to patronize Anna's new cafe. Some of Cartwright's mid-tier properties began to see dips in revenue. Hoping to revive his fortunes, Charles launched a series of expansions, opening new branches in other cities under the assumption that bigger was always better. But the returns weren't matching his projections. His controlling approach with staff led to high turnover. Meanwhile, Anna's cafe thrived on community engagement. She hosted live music nights, art exhibitions, and fundraisers for local charities. The public adored her for it. In an increasingly desperate attempt to regain control, Charles decided to buy out Anna's 20% stake in his chain. He called her into a meeting at the brand-new Cartwright's headquarters, a gleaming skyscraper that cost a small fortune to build. She arrived with Mark Jefferson, both curious and cautious. Sitting at the head of a vast mahogany table, Charles slid a contract across to Anna. "This is my final offer," he said curtly. "I'll buy your shares for double the market price. You can take that money and run whatever sweet little cafe you want. Just stay out of my business." Anna scanned the figures. The amount was staggering. With that kind of money, she could expand her cafe or even open a second location. But something in her gut told her not to let go so easily. She looked at Mark, who gave her a subtle nod. He, too, saw the potential. "I appreciate the offer," Anna began, her voice steady. "But Joe Bentley gave me these shares for a reason. He hoped I'd bring a different spirit into this corporation. I'm not interested in cashing out just yet." Charles's nostrils flared. "You can't be serious. Your cafe is your realm. You've got no business meddling in corporate strategies you barely understand." Anna maintained her composure. "You laughed at my dream. You claimed cafes fail left and right. Yet my place is thriving, and your expansions are struggling. Perhaps it's you who might need to rethink your strategies." His face reddened. For a moment, the tension in the room felt stifling. Then, he abruptly stood. "Fine," he snapped. "You'll regret this." But Anna wouldn't regret it. Over the next 6 months, Harris and Home Cafe not only sustained its success, but grew even stronger. Encouraged by Dr. Kim and Mark Jefferson, Anna began to explore franchising opportunities, mindful to preserve her cafe's personal touch. She scouted potential owners, people who cared about community, not just profit margins. Meanwhile, she attended Cartwright's quarterly board meetings, sometimes surprising the high society members with her grounded perspective on customer experience. It was in one of those board meetings that Anna uncovered yet another shocking piece of information. The overall Cartwright's brand was hemorrhaging money. Charles's rapid expansions had come with high real estate costs and bloated overhead. Furious at every obstacle, he had overextended loans and lost the favor of key investors. The brand's value was plummeting. Behind the scenes, some board members quietly approached Anna. They saw her success at Harris and Home and wondered if she might consider buying out the entire Cartwright's chain, rebranding it, or restructuring it with her vision. At first, the idea seemed ludicrous. Anna had only just started her own cafe, but as she ran the numbers with Mark Jefferson, she realized the chain's debts might actually make a total buyout possible at a fraction of its original valuation. With her backing from Joe Bentley's inheritance and the cafe's growing profits, Anna was closer to pulling it off than she ever imagined. News of the potential deal reached Charles, who tried everything in his power to block it. He called in old favors, threatened legal action, and tried to sour Anna's public image by running negative press campaigns, insinuating that her cafe cut corners and used subpar ingredients. But Anna's loyal customers and the local press rallied behind her, dismissing Charles's ploys as desperate attempts to save face. When the final takeover offer was on the table, Charles arrived at the negotiation with the defiance of a man cornered. Anna, flanked by her advisors, tried to keep her emotions in check. She remembered that humiliating moment when he'd stood in the hallway, laughing at her dream as if it were a childish fantasy. Now, the power dynamic had completely reversed. The negotiations lasted late into the night, with attorneys on both sides parsing through contracts and restructuring obligations. By dawn, an accord was reached. Anna Harris would acquire the Cartwright's fine dining chain, assume the debts, and reshape the business model under her newly formed hospitality group, which she named Harris and Company. Charles Cartwright stumbled from the conference room, a hollow look in his eyes. He was walking away with less money than he'd ever expected. His entire kingdom, built on haughtiness and intimidation, had come crashing down at the feet of the very person he once belittled. Indeed, the final transaction gave Anna controlling ownership of the chain he had so proudly expanded. Within months, Anna set her vision in motion. She appointed new management teams, introduced training programs centered on community engagement and genuine hospitality, and rebranded select Cartwright's fine dining locations to reflect a more inclusive spirit. Some high-end spots remained upscale, while others were transitioned into mid-priced bistros that appealed to a broader customer base. The overarching theme was warmth, and quality and approach gleaned from Anna's years of genuinely caring for every diner she served. The day the final sign changed, when Cartwright's fine dining was replaced by a sleek, simple signage that read Harris and Home, Anna stood on the sidewalk, tears of joy in her eyes. Crowds gathered to watch the ceremony, snapping pictures, sharing them on social media. It felt surreal, almost impossible. People around the city marveled at the waitress who had dared to dream and had bought out the mogul who once ridiculed her. In a final twist of fate, Charles Cartwright, now stripped of power, decided to leave Ohio. The press reported he had moved to a seaside town in Florida, possibly to start a smaller venture or simply nurse his wounded pride. The city of Dayton had a new champion, Anna Harris, a woman who believed in the simple power of kindness, good food, and an unwavering dream. For Anna, the triumph wasn't just about money or revenge. It was about validating her belief in the human touch, in the idea that a restaurant can be a beacon for community. She doubled down on philanthropic efforts, launching a scholarship for culinary students in honor of her parents' hard work and Joe Bentley's faith in her. She welcomed interns from local high schools, teaching them the basics of running a cafe or restaurant. Within a couple of years, her brand had grown beyond Dayton into nearby cities, each location retaining that down-to-earth style that customers adored. Whenever Anna walked into one of her establishments, be it a new bistro or an old Cartwright's location she'd transformed, she was greeted with a sense of belonging, a warmth radiating from the decor, the staff, and the patrons. From time to time, she remembered Charles Cartwright's sneer and his condescending laugh, but now it only fueled her gratitude for how far she'd come. Before the cafe opened each morning, Anna would pause to watch the sunrise gilding the city's skyline. She would close her eyes and recall the long shifts, the tears of frustration, the humiliations, and the small gestures of hope that had led her here. In those quiet moments, she gave thanks for the dream she had dared to share, even if it had earned her mockery, and for the unanticipated allies who had paved the way for her success. Then she would open the doors, greet her staff, and welcome another day of forging connections, one cup of coffee at a time. Harris and Home Café continued to thrive as a testament to the power of passion, humility, and perseverance. And Anna Harris, once just a humble waitress, with frayed shoes and a twinkle in her eye, became the face of a new era in the local restaurant scene, proving to everyone watching that sometimes the biggest dreams start small, and the loudest laughter can be silenced by quiet, steadfast hope. If Anna Harris's story inspires you as much as it inspires me, remember that a dream, no matter how small it seems, can reshape an entire community when combined with determination and kindness. Anna faced ridicule, doubt, and unforeseen challenges, yet She never lost sight of her vision. Her journey reminds us that even the most formidable obstacles can be overcome if we hold fast to our passion and refuse to bow to cynicism. Thank you for joining me on this incredible tale of perseverance, heart, and ultimately, triumph. If you found meaning, excitement, or motivation in Anna's story, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps keep these powerful stories alive, spreading hope and courage to dreamers everywhere. Together, let's celebrate what's possible when belief in a simple dream challenges an entire empire and wins.